I'm just saying that what we are saying as union now is that the only way to direct our strength and level our collective strength at those who hold the real power is to paralyze and shut down the economy. And I will say this because you mentioned a very divided country. It is true that it is divided. But what we have shown in the past, for example, last year when we were on the pension strike, Macron, and this is part of the reason he actually lost these elections, tried and to implement pension reform that will raise the general retirement age to 64 for the general public. And when we went on strike, and society was massively paralyzed by our strikes, and this was a strike that was very massively supported by the working class and the population in general. Even their own polls show that more than 9 out of 10 working people supported our strikes, which means that even those who voted for the far right supported it, which means that there is common ground because we have common interests. And it is only in these periods when we manage to mobilize on our interests, on our objectives, with our methods, that actually the far right disappears from the political scene for a while, because that is the only time in society where we actually manage to unite, and actually everybody unites behind our banner, including people who vote for the far right and who are confused. So this is why we're saying this is a path forward. It is not necessarily only electoral politics, it is to manage to build mobilizations that unite us around common interests, and that is our role as a trade union, and that is what we can do, and that is why our responsibility is so important, because we are the only force that can actually and manage to do that. At the end of the day, even if it's very difficult to admit, because what some of these people are saying when we're talking about society is very difficult to hear sometimes when we're discussing, it's very racist theories, it's extremely violent. But at the end of the day, even if they ignore it, and it's not about being paternalistic or anything or condescending, even if they ignore it, they as workers have the same interest as the other workers, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their gender, regardless of their religion. Even if they ignore it, they do have the same interest. And they actually do realize it only in periods where we as unions manage to mobilize the entire French society around our common objectives. And we've proven that this is not like an abstract theory. When we go on massive strikes as a pension issues, they support us. And that is actually the moment where they actually join people they theoretically hate when they vote. That's the only time of the year, basically, where they actually join and fight with them. And that is in these moments where we can build beyond like abstract discussions, we can build concrete common mobilizations and make their consciousness evolve into something more progressive, basically. And for example, right now, many workers are facing issues such as insufficient wages to meet their needs, their daily needs, or housing problems. Some of them will say, for example, that housing problems are due to immigrants taking better housing, or that lower wages are due to immigrants doing it for lower wages and their whatever. But at the end of the day, when we manage to organize mobilizations for decent housing in the neighborhoods or high wages through strikes, that is a moment where we actually manage to unite them, where they can meet and where they can discuss. And that is where I've seen personally political consciousness evolve. And so that is why we're insisting, and joins what you said yourself about when you organized these type of neighborhoods back in the days. It's the only moment where actually political consciousness involved and when they can actually become allies. But it's actually the most important task we have at hand is to manage how to unite our class around its class objectives and make the clash consciousness rise again, basically. That is the task at hand, because that is what is lacking the most in order to rebuild not only the Popular Front, but rebuild basically a capable organization that are capable to overthrow the society. It's going to be very critical, because if we fail, basically, what happened now needs to be translated into tangible results for working people in the coming period. I'm not saying the coming day or the coming weeks, but it needs to be translated into tangible results for the working class. Because if it doesn't, this will just mean that the far right will be able to, even if it was a bit delayed, but will only delay their ascension to power, because they will be able to tap into that sentiment that, all of these politicians, all of these forces are rotten, and in the end of the day, they betray us, and they don't provide, and they don't live up to the promises they made. And so basically people will resort to forces that actually promise to crush us, because that is what they're doing. The far right, the promise is not only to crush us, of course, the most known part is crushing immigrants, or just discriminating against blacks or LGBTs, you name it, they do it. But they also, and it's a bit something they less publicized is also about how they promised to crush the trade unions in France, which is one of the pillars of fascism. And so what we need to go from here is to make sure that our mobilization, that we manage to force the Popular Front to stay true to its program, and also that our mobilization manages to prevent all the other parties from stopping the program from being implemented. So that's why I'm always coming back to the basics, back to the basics. The only social force that can save the working class is the working class itself. There is no supreme savior. It is only us, through our mobilization, that can force this to happen, because we are the one who make all the cogs of societies, all the wheels of societies turn. Without us, nothing works. There will be no train, there will be no fuel, there will be no electricity if we decide to withdraw labor. So we hold the power. We just need to gain the conscience that we have it, and that we need to use this in order to crush them, in order to prevent them from crushing us. So this will need a broad alliance from anti-racist organizations, trade unions, feminist organizations, anti-colonialist organizations, such as those that are involved in the struggle for the liberation of Palestine, because we all share the same and common enemy, which is the capitalist state. And if we manage to unite in all our fights in order to deal a common blow at our common enemies, that is how we will rebuild the class consciousness and build a potent force that is capable of bringing down the society, and not only bringing it down, but heralding a new hope for millions of people who are just craving for something to hope for.
Thank you so much for watching the Real News Network, where we lift up the voices, stories, and struggles that you care about most. And we need your help to keep doing this work. So please tap your screen now, subscribe, and donate to the Real News Network. Solidarity forever.